Hello and welcome back to the channel this week. This week's episode is pretty sad for me because I'm selling a lens that I've loved for a long time, ever since it came out, and I have a really good copy of it. And some have complained about it a lot and some have praised its glory. I'm one of the ones that's praised its glory. The 16-80 f4, when it came out, I jumped all over it because it's basically what I was using before, my Canon gear, but it was longer at the long end. Full frame equivalent about 120, and I was used to shooting with a 24-70 f4, and I gotta say, this lens really filled the bill. You know, it goes all the way out to 80, which is 120 full frame. And I gotta say, I love this lens. So let's discover why I'm selling this lens. Oh, I can't believe I'm doing it. Okay, so let's go over some of the reasons why I purchased this lens in the first place. First of all, it's a 16-80, so full frame is 24-120. And, you know, Canon makes something similar, 24-105, somewhere in that range. But I really love the fact that it went out to 120. That's really what sold me on this lens. Now, I did a review on it when I first bought it, and I was pretty excited about it because it was sharp most of the time until you got out to the 80 range, you know, the 70 to 80 range, somewhere in that range, and it would get a little bit soft around the corners when it was at f4. Once you got out to f8, it started getting a lot better. But really, for me, for the things that I do with it, which is a lot of it is photojournalism work, the edges don't really matter that much. And when I'm shooting landscape stuff, I'm usually shooting somewhere between 11 and 13, somewhere in that range. And everything was pretty sharp to me. So then, of course, when they went to the 40 megapixel cameras, you know, I did a video on it, and this lens looks to me to resolve pretty well. But I know for a fact that the new lens, the 16-55, is much better at this. And we're going to talk a little bit about it here, but let's go over this lens a little bit more. Now, like I said, I shoot at f4 a lot, an awful lot. F8 maybe a little bit too. So it's been great for that, and I can't really complain. A lot of people have, of course. I have a friend of mine that bought one, said the edges look like there was a windstorm going on in the trees on the sides. I've never had that issue before, but so anyway, some cons about this lens were that it's kind of heavy. It's large. It's a 72 millimeter diameter. It's a little bit heavy, a little bit lighter than the old 16-55, but for the most part, it's pretty good. You know, it's really well made. You know, it's a nice metal lens. There's some plastic in it, but I got to say it's well marked, and it's got clickable f-stops. I really like that. You know, brings me back to my old lenses that I use. Instead of everything being controlled on the top, I can control it on the front like I normally do. And the manual focus works just fine. It may be a little loose, but it's very, very smooth. So let's go over some cons. Some cons, you know, I've already mentioned that it's a little bit soft on the edges when you get to the wider apertures. But, you know, the f4, I used it. I'll tell you, when I had my Canon gear, I had a 28-70 f2.8, but it was really big and heavy, and I was getting older at the time. Still getting older. The newer lens that they had was really nice, the 24-70 f4. It was a beautiful lens, EF lens, and I decided that I'd trade in the other one and buy the new lens. And I got to say, it was great, except for the fact that f4 for a photojournalist just doesn't cut it. And with this lens, a lot of the news assignments that I have, unfortunately, you know, if I got to go up to 3200, 6400, or whatever it is, I really don't like doing that. I'd much rather be shooting at 2.8. Now, let's go over the reason why I'm switching. Because I had tried the old 16-55, and I really liked it. It was, like they said, you know, a bunch of primes stuck in one lens. It was beautiful. It's 16 at 70, what is it, 16 to 55, excuse me. The new 16 to 50, the old 16 to 55, great lens, which is basically a 24 to 84 f2.8. But the old lens is heavier. I don't know. It just felt like I was using my old Canon DSLR gear, and I was trying to get away from that. But this new lens is actually lighter than this by only an ounce. And this lens is not real heavy, but it's a little bit heavy. But an ounce can make a big difference. But it's a 2.8, not a 4. And so it's like back in the day when I shot with primes all the time, I would shoot with a 24 and I'd shoot with an 85. So basically this is going to be all those lenses into one. And from everything I've read, it's an outstanding lens. And I think that I've finally made that decision to sell off this lens, which is basically a kit lens now. But it's a darn good one in my opinion. And the copy that I have is just outstanding. So, it's tough for me to do this, but I got to sell this lens so that I can afford to buy the other one. Now, I can only get about $350 for this lens now because it basically is a kit lens. And it's not rated to resolve 40 megapixels, which all the new cameras are going to be. So it's time to see this puppy go, even though I love that 120 length. Having that 120 length is such a big deal. Wish I had a new 16 to 55 to show you, but I don't. Unfortunately, it's only the Fuji X photographers, and I'm not one. I'm just a regular run-of-the-mill Fuji influencer, if you want to call it that. I do get some stuff that I can borrow, but it's usually older. It's not the new stuff. I'd love to try out that 500 f5.6. Whoa, do some decent wildlife stuff with that. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Give me your opinion. What do you think? Should I sell this and buy the new one? New one's $1,200. That's a lot of money. It's almost as much as this XT50 I'm filming on right now. So, I don't know. If you wouldn't mind, please give me a like and subscribe to the channel and comment. That would be awesome. And please share this video. Check out kpnphototours.com. That would also be great. I'm just mourning having to sell this 16 to 80 here because I really like it. It's been on my camera all the time. It's my go-to lens. So, the new one, 16 to 55, it's going to be better. That's it for this week, and we'll catch you next time.